Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my 2022 Halloween special. Last week I reviewed the highly dubious Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter, a review I implore that you all check out. That film is definitely an experience. Today's video is all about a movie that has kind of been swept under the rug in my opinion, as it kind of served as a precursor to one of the most popular horror fantasy shows of the late 90s. Without further ado, on with the review. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is most recognisably known as a TV horror fantasy series that ran from 1997 to 2003, starring Sarah Michelle Gellar in the lead role. It centered around a cheerleader named Buffy, who is actually a member of a line of female vampire hunters named Slayers. She tries to manage her life while being a protector of her hometown, and by proxy, the world, and also dealing with normal teenagery things. The show was relatively popular at the time of its release, resulting in a spin-off called Angel, several comic series, and a large and active fandom due to its cult status. It turns out, however, that this wasn't the first attempt at realizing showrunner Joss Whedon's vision for Buffy, and he made his first attempt half a decade before the series' pilot first aired. This is the subject of today's video. The film opens with a flashback to medieval times, which explains how when a Slayer dies, the next Slayer is approached by the Watcher in order to continue the, slaying. We then cut to the present day, the early 90s in this case, where Buffy is, cheerleading. From the get-go, this movie just radiates the 90s, and I'm not sure whether I like it or I'm cringing. Buffy is characterized as a typical stupid blonde, complaining about bad grades and gushing over clothes. When she and her friends enter the lift to head to the cinema, they come across this strange, serious-looking guy. In the cinema, Buffy and her friends argue with the guys behind them, two nerdy kids called Pike and Benny, because she won't shut up about her boyfriend Jeffrey.
Gosh, I don't die a virgin.
Just shut up, please.
It could happen.
To be fair to them, it's very rude to talk in the cinema when people are trying to watch the movie. While I didn't recognize him upon my first viewing, Benny is actually played by David Arquette, who is most well known to me for his role as Dewey in Scream. One of Jeffrey's friends, called Gruler, is killed off screen while walking home, and the news report has his death described in quite the way.
The apparent cause of death was a severe neck wound that resembled, in the words of one bystander, a really gross hickey.
Buffy and Jeffrey spend the evening together, and we get another flashback where the medieval Slayer is killed by a vampire king named Lothos. This flashback turns out to be a recurring dream had by Buffy, and the vampire that killed the boy off screen is actually a minion of Lothos named Amelin. Holy shit, is that Pee Wee Herman? This movie just gets better and better! Buffy and her friends go to a club to organise ideas for the senior dance, and they titter at and mock Pike and Benny when they enter, as the two are very obviously smashed. While these two geeks definitely make complete idiots of themselves, everything that we've seen so far of Buffy has been good at establishing her as a vapid popular girl, something that will be turned on its head later. While walking home, Pike and Benny are attacked by Amelin, although Pike is rescued by the scary guy from the shopping centre. While she is practicing in the gym, the scary guy, who is called Merrick, confronts Buffy and he tells her that she is the Slayer. At first, she doesn't believe him, but then begins to take him seriously when he describes her reoccurring nightmare. Merrick takes Buffy to the grave of a boy in order to wait for him to wake up, and the shot of him rising out of his grave is so cool. He attacks Merrick but is staked by Buffy, followed by another vampire who rose out of her grave. Benny comes to Pike's window that night, and looks much more emo and cool, although he is behaving very strangely, asking to be invited in, and not to mention he's floating.
Let me in, Pike. I'm hungry. Go home, Ben.
I'm hungry.
You're floating. Come on, man. Get away from here.
All things considered, Pike is taking the whole thing pretty well. A nerdy girl named Cassandra from Buffy's class is abducted by Amelin, and is heavily implied to be attacked by Lothos. The shots where he is floating down with his cape are so sick and I love them. Buffy and Merrick argue that Buffy did not meet with Merrick due to her cheer practice, and although she believes him now, she doesn't seem to take her role seriously and wants to dump it on someone else. However, she does have freakishly unnatural reflexes and strength, which encourages her to begin her training. Her schooling is suffering on the other hand, so her school administrator, Mr. Murray, tries to give her this weird pep talk about doing drugs.
I was at a Doobie Brothers concert, and I could see the music flowing in. It was flowing into me. It was bright red and electric.
Only the 90s, I tell you. Pike decides to get out of town as Benny freaked him out so much, and he warns his boss to run if he sees the guy. That night, Buffy goes strolling down an alleyway as obvious vampire bait, and she kicks his ass successfully, although Merrick warns her against her methods. He also tells her that much like her, he is also reborn every time as a Watcher, and must not directly intervene in her fights even when he feels that it is necessary. Pike has trouble starting his car, and he is then attacked by Amelin, who jumps onto the hood while the car is moving. There is a struggle which results in Amelin losing his arm, and Pike crashing his car.
You ruined my new jacket. Kill him a lot.
Pike has fisticuffs with the vampires, but is saved by Buffy, and she takes him home as he isn't in great shape after the fight. They have some nice chemistry, and Pike says he'll stay awake to make sure the sun comes up. Cassandra's body is found, and Gruler returns to the gym, although he looks a lot more dead and his ears are a lot more pointy. He plays exceptionally well. What the fuck? What is Fetus Ben Affleck doing in this movie? Gruler's new aggressive playing style is highly suspicious to Buffy, and unfortunately he recognizes her as the Slayer. They give chase and she steals some guy's motorbike to keep up with him. Seeing her drive past, Pike follows them on his own motorbike. Buffy grows upset as Gruler was her friend, and she tries to talk him out of it, leading to her being restrained by two other vampires. Thankfully, Pike comes to the rescue with my favourite line in this film.
Now, I'm a god.
And now, you're a coat rack.
They defeat the vampires, but Lothos appears. The way he glides along so unnaturally looks so awesome, and helps to separate him from the other vampires. He's on another level of inhumanness. Pike gets his ass kicked by Amelin, and just before Lothos can bite Buffy, Merrick attempts to stake him, breaking his own rule from earlier, and instead being staked by Lothos in the process. Lothos decides that Buffy isn't ready, and just before he dies, Merrick tells her to keep doing things wrong, and to remember about the music. Stricken with grief, Buffy tries to talk to her friends, but they're still the same insipid teenagers who only care about stupid high school things. She decides to go to a senior dance, and ignore slaying as she feels responsible for Merrick's death, a decision that Pike does not agree with. Lothos decides to crash the dance on Saturday because he's evil or whatever, and at the party, Buffy discovers that Jeffrey has dumped her unceremoniously for her friend Jenny. Thankfully, Pike shows up dressed as a cool guy, and he and Buffy confess their feelings for one another and dance together. The dance is then crashed by the vampires, but Pike has come prepared. Pike helps the students fight off the vampires, while Buffy searches for Lothos. Pike and Benny fight, and Lothos allows Buffy to stake Amelin, who takes his damn time to die. Lothos tries to explain that he and Buffy are joined spiritually, I suppose that she is destined to be killed by him over and over again. She fights him off by spraying a lit crucifix with hairspray once his hypnotizing music stops playing, and he follows her back to the dance hall, where she does her usual Buffy shtick and manages to stake him. The film ends with Buffy and Pike riding away on a motorbike. Overall, I think this movie is pretty good if not very cheesy. I liked some of the more ironic lines in the beginning of the film, such as one of the other boys telling Grueller that he sucks on the court, or Benny telling Pike that those ditzy teenage girls aren't even human on their drunken walk home. I chuckled when seeing Donald Sutherland in the role of Merrick as his son, Kiefer Sutherland, had played the vampiric antagonist David in the 1986 film The Lost Boys. Again, I found it rather ironic that he was now playing the role of a very anti-vampire character. According to a 2017 article by Empire Online, Whedon's original idea for Buffy was based on this standard horror cliché of the silly attractive girl who's not very bright and gets killed by the villain. He wanted to take that character with those same qualities, but put her in a story where she'll be able to kick ass instead of the same thing that the audience was used to. Unfortunately, while satisfied with his script, Whedon didn't like how Fox translated it onto the big screen, removing a lot of the story's darker elements. However, it's very obvious that Whedon had specific themes and ideas that are present in this film that were better expanded on in the show. You can clearly see how characters in the 1992 film are precursors to those in the series. Merrick became Giles. Both are Watchers who serve as a mentor for Buffy, and there are even little things like how they both have English accents. I think making Giles the school librarian was a better choice compared to having him be some weird homeless looking guy who follows her around, however. Lothos is an archetype of the Master, a sort of unnerving, powerful leader of the vampires, and you can see aspects of characters like Xander, or even Angel in Pike. Buffy's silly adolescent attitude isn't quite as hammed up as in the film, but it's still there. A teenage Seth Green was supposed to make an appearance as a vampire, but the scenes filmed with him ended up being edited out of the final cut, although some promotional stills with him in them were released. I bring this up because he later went on to play a werewolf character named Oz in the Buffy show. This film definitely heavily influenced the first season of the Buffy TV series, especially the episodes Welcome to Hellmouth and The Harvest. There's even a Benny-like character in Xander's friend Jessie, who is accidentally staked by Xander at the end of The Harvest. I did find the pacing of this film to be a bit odd. All of the events occur over a matter of a few weeks, and personally I would have preferred it be at least a couple of months. This works better in a series as there are many small stories to tell, but as a standalone film it was a bit too fast for my liking. All in all though, this film is good fun if you're looking for some 90s rubbish. Well, that's all for this video. Be sure to follow me on social media as they are all linked in my description box. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Happy Halloween!
Spooky for you. Too spooky for